Breaking news! Things are heating up behind the scenes at the Miami Dolphins, and all signs point to our team being on the brink of a major overhaul in the upcoming NFL draft. What's circulating right now could spark some serious debate among the fan base, and of course, we're not going to let this slip under the radar. But before I dive into all the juicy details, make sure you've already smashed that like button, especially if you agree that the greatest gift the Miami Dolphins could receive right now would be the firing of Chris Grier. Yes, my friends, that's the dream news, and I believe that dream might soon become reality. Now let's get to what really matters. When it comes to the draft, all eyes are locked on two Texas Longhorns, Kelvin Banks Jr. and Jayden Ramsay, and there are strong speculations flying around about a trade scenario that could completely flip the Dolphins' draft strategy upside down. The tension is very real, and the decisions ahead of us are absolutely crucial. Adam Schefter, one of the most respected insiders in the league, dropped some major intel this week that puts both Banks and Barron in the spotlight. Kelvin Banks, the 6 feet 5 inches, 315-pound defensive lineman, has seen his draft stock soar once again as we get closer to draft night. And it's not just Schefter pushing this narrative. Todd McShay is echoing the same thing. Banks could be a real target for Miami at pick number 13. What makes this even more interesting is that Kelvin Banks isn't just a typical left tackle. He's a guy who might be asked to shift inside to play guard due to his 33.5-inch arm length, slightly below what you ideally want from an NFL tackle. So if Miami pulls the trigger on Banks, they're likely envisioning him as a left or right guard, not a bookend on the edge. That raises some major questions. With Patrick Paul expected to replace Terron Armstead at left tackle, pairing him with a rookie like Banks on the inside would give the Dolphins an entirely untested left side of the offensive line. That's a risky gamble, especially for a team that says it's trying to contend now. We've been burned before with these kinds of developmental moves, and let's not forget, Liam Eichenberg is still somehow on the roster. That guy cannot start in 2025, period. Then there's the factor of James Daniels, brought in on a 3-year, $24 million deal. He's capable of playing either guard spot, so theoretically, if Miami drafts Banks, they could slide Daniels to left guard and let Banks settle at right guard. Sounds good on paper, but again, are we really using a top 15 pick to patch up a guard spot when we have massive needs on defense? Which brings us to Jayden Ramsay. The do-it-all defensive back from Texas has been linked to multiple teams picking ahead of Miami, including the Raiders at number 6 and the Jets at number 7. There's a real chance he's off the board by the time Miami picks, and honestly, if that happens, it might push the front office to explore something even bigger, a trade down. Enter the Denver Broncos. According to Schefter, Denver is one of the very few teams aggressively trying to move up in the first round. And while he didn't name-drop Miami as a trade partner, it makes total sense. The Broncos sit at pick 20 and could be looking to jump ahead of teams like Indianapolis and Dallas for a tight end or a running back. Miami, sitting at 13, could be the perfect team to strike a deal with. Here's the rumored trade package. Miami sends picks 13, 116, and 150 to Denver in exchange for pick 20 and Denver's second rounder at 51. That would give the Dolphins back-to-back picks in the second round, 48 and 51, and a whole lot of flexibility to attack multiple areas of need. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Trading down means you probably miss out on guys like Will Johnson or Jayden Ramsay, but you gain the chance to add 2 quality starters on day 2. You could still snag a Kelvin Banks, or if he's off the board, someone like Walter Rouse or Kenneth Grant. Then you follow that up with a solid corner and a defensive lineman early in round 2. That's how you rebuild the trenches and the secondary in one night. But we all know how this goes. Chris Grier is still in charge, for now, and trusting him to navigate a trade like this with precision is like trusting Eichenberg to protect Tua's blind side. It's a gamble, and one that could either reshape the team's foundation or blow up in spectacular fashion. So here's what I want to know from you. If you're in charge, what's the move? Do you stand firm at 13 and take Kelvin Banks? Do you hope Jayden Ramsay slides? Or do you pull the trigger on a trade with Denver and load up on second-round picks? Let me know in the comments what you'd do if you were calling the shots on draft night. Let's imagine the Dolphins actually go through with this trade-down scenario. They move from pick 13 to 20 and pick up an extra second-rounder at 51. On the surface, that sounds like a smart play. More picks, more chances to get starters. But here's the catch. This only works if the front office, and yes, that means Chris Grier, doesn't completely botch the selections. Because if you trade down and whiff on those picks, you've just passed on elite talent for absolutely nothing. So let's break down what could realistically happen at pick 20. If Kelvin Banks is still on the board, which is a coin flip at best, you could take him and plug him into the right guard spot. That would allow you to move James Daniels to left guard and finally, mercifully, end the Liam Eichenberg experiment. That's a win. But what if Banks is gone? That's where things get dicey. You're suddenly looking at names like Walter Rouse, who isn't as polished, or reaching for someone like Gray Zabel or Jonas Savaiania. Solid prospects, but are they worth a first-round pick? Probably not. So now the pressure shifts to those second-rounders at 48 and 51. At that point, you better hit on a defensive back. Maybe you grab a corner like Benjamin Morrison, who has good size and physicality, or Siobhan Ravel, a rising name in scouting circles. You also have the chance to snag a defensive lineman like Darius Robinson or Alfred Collins, guys who can contribute immediately in a rotation. And don't forget, Miami still has pick 98. That's a golden opportunity to double down on the trenches or even take a swing at another DB. This is how you build depth across the board, which Miami desperately needs if they're serious about contending. But this only works if the picks are the right ones. That's what keeps coming back into focus. Every draft is a test of a front office's ability to evaluate talent and stay disciplined on draft night. Greer doesn't exactly have the best track record here. We've seen it before, reaching for projects, ignoring obvious holes, and letting key positions go untouched. What really makes this situation even more high stakes is the current uncertainty around players like Jaylen Ramsay. If Miami truly believes Ramsay's future with the team is up in the air, you have to walk away from this draft with a legitimate starting caliber corner. You can't keep gambling on cast-offs or late-round long shots. We're talking about a defense that needs reinforcements right now, not in 2 years. And then there's the running back situation. There's a lot of buzz around teams like Dallas and Denver targeting RBs early. If Miami's sitting at 48 and someone like Marshawn Lloyd or Braylon Allen is still available, you know the temptation will be there. But that would be a mistake. This draft isn't about luxury picks. It's about fixing real problems in the trenches and the secondary. What the Dolphins decide to do on draft night is going to set the tone for the entire 2025 season and possibly the next few years. If they stay at 13 and pick the right guy, that's a foundational move. If they trade back and turn those picks into starters on both sides of the ball, that's how you build a playoff team. But if they fumble this, it'll be just another chapter in a long history of missed opportunities. So I'll ask you again, Dolphins fans, if that Denver trade offer is real, are you pulling the trigger? Or are you staying put and taking your shot at an elite prospect? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any updates as we get closer to draft night. Smash that like button and stick around. We've got more draft coverage, insider news, and analysis coming your way. Video on the screen now. Check it out. The Dolphins are at a crossroads, and this draft could define the future of the franchise. Whether they stay at 13 or trade down, the pressure is on to make the right call. Fans deserve a front office that finally delivers results. What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more Dolphins news and draft updates. Go Dolphins!